In different websites, you might have seen this kind of all carousel. Today, with the help of pure JavaScript, we will be building this carousel, or you can call it slider. There will be light theme as well as the dark theme, and also it is responsive. Without further ado, let's start. Hello and namaste everyone. This is Jitsaru with Coding Design. Welcome to our channel. If you are new here, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. If you want to go along with me, in the description below I have given two links. First link is the GitHub page link from where you can download the source code, and second link is the videos link where I have already discussed about all these codes. So now in the index.html file, I have already created the section element with class name slider, and inside that section there are multiple divs with class name card. And now let's change the title. For the title I am giving responsive carousel, like all carousel, or you can call it slider. Now just above the end of section element, I am creating span tag with class name arrow, and also I am giving another class name left, and inside that I want to give the HTML entity. So with the help of this ampersand hash 129120 and semicolon, this code will give you the left arrow icon. So if you want to use the third-party libraries, for the icons you can use, but I don't want to use any third-party libraries, so I'm using HTML entity. If you are in VS Code and if you have installed the extension called live server, then in the index.html file, if you right click, then you will get this option called open with live server. If you hit that option, it will open it in your default browser. So with the help of this extension, whenever there is any changes in the HTML file, you don't need to refresh, okay? So it will automatically refresh your browser. So you can check out the separate video. I have already created the video on product card UI design. At the end, you can see this arrow icon, okay? Now let's duplicate this code. Instead of that 20, let's give 22 and semicolon, and let's change that class name to right. If I save, and in the browser now you can see that right pointing arrow. Now you can see I have already linked the style.css file. In the style.css file you can see few lines of codes. So now let's comment all these codes. Now instead of display grid, we'll give display flex. If I save, and in the browser now you can see all the cards are brought in same line. And for the class card, instead of that width, let's give the minimum width. Now you can see all these cards are overflowing. So for the body tag, let's give the background. For the background color, I am giving that bg variable. At the top you can see for the bg variable we are assigning some dark blue color, and also you can see the scroll bar. So in order to remove that scroll bar, for the body I am giving overflow x hidden. Now in the browser you can see you won't be able to scroll. Similarly for the class card, let's give the margin left. I want to give the margin left of through rem. But for the first card, you can see there is much more gap. So in order to prevent that, for the class card, I am giving not pseudo class, and also inside that I am passing first child pseudo class. Now in the browser you can see that 3 rem margin left is not applied for that first child, I mean first card, but I want to give a little bit of space for that first card. So now let's duplicate this code and let's remove that not pseudo class, and for the margin left let's give 0.4 rem. Now in the browser you can see proper space between the cards. Similarly for the class slider, let's give some margin. For the margin top and bottom I am giving 7 rem, and for the left and right I am giving auto. Similarly now let's style the span tag with class name arrow. For the class arrow, let's give the position of absolute. For the top I am giving 50% so that it would bring vertically center, you can see, but it is not exactly at the center. So I am giving transform translate y minus 50%. Similarly for the width and height, let's give 3 rem. And also I want to give the background color. For the background color I am giving white color. For the color I am giving black color. So in the browser now you can see that white square box with arrow icon, but you can see there is some problem. It's because for the class card content I have given the g-index of 200. So now for the class arrow, if I give the g-index of 300, that problem will be solved. But I don't want that square shape. So if I give the border radius of 50%, then it would change into circle shape. Now let's bring that icon exactly at the center of that circle. So first of all, let's give font. For the font width, let's give 800. For the font size, I'm giving 1.5 rem. For the font family, let's give sans serif. Similarly, let's give text align to center. And also let's give the line height. For the line height, I'm giving 3 rem. So text align center will bring this icon exactly horizontally center. And this line height I'm giving 3 rem. That value should be exactly match with that height, okay, so that it would bring your icon vertically center. And also let's give cursor to pointer. Now let's style this class left and right. For the class left, let's give left 1 rem. Let's select this code and let's duplicate it. And instead of that class left, let's change it to right. And also for that left, let's change it to right. Now in the browser, you can see, I think it's looking good. Similarly, for the class arrow, let's give the active pseudo class. And let's give the background color. I'm giving light gray color, okay. So in the browser now you can see when you click, that white circle changes into light gray circle. But you can see when you click, that arrow is selected. So in order to prevent that, for the class arrow, let's give user select to none. Now in the browser, whenever I'm clicking, okay, you won't be selecting anything. And also whenever you are clicking, that white circle's background color is changed into light gray color. Now with the help of JavaScript code, we'll be able to create that slider effect. So first of all, let's create the script.js file. Now let's link our JavaScript file. Just above the end of body tag, I'm giving the script tag, and for the source, let's give that script.js file. Let's save the file. Now let's select this div with class name card. So we'll be selecting all these cards. And also let's select this span tag with class name left arrow and right arrow. Now in the JavaScript file, I'm creating cons cards variable and I'm assigning document.querySelector. So I'm giving all, okay. So you need to give all because we are selecting all the div with class name cards. Let's duplicate this code for 2 times, and instead of that cards, let's give right arrow, and instead of that cards variable, let's give left arrow variable. Now we are selecting only the right arrow, so instead of that query selector or, we'll give only the query selector. Now instead of that dot card, let's give dot arrow dot right, and also let's give dot arrow dot left. So remember, there is no any space. So in the HTML file, you can see we have given there 2 card names, arrow left and also arrow right. So remember, there won't be any space. Okay, I have forgot to give the media query. So in the style.css file, let's give the @media screen, and for the maximum width, I am giving 768 pixel. So for the class card, you can see for the minimum width, we have given there 17 rem. Let's duplicate this code and let's take it to that media query section, okay. And instead of that 17 rem, let's give 21 rem. Now you can see when you adjust your screen, now it's responsive. And also in the script.js file, I'm assigning left variable with 0. So for the class card, initially let's give the left 0. I want to create another variable. Let card size is equal to, I'm giving 25.4. So if you ask me why I'm giving that 25.4, so in the browser, if you have noticed, there are 4 cards. So if you divide them into 100%, each card will occupy 25%. So that 25%, that is the 25, and that extra 0.4, that is the value for that space between the cards. So that is the extra value for the space between the cards. And also let's create another variable. Let total card size is equal to, so I'm giving cards.length. So this code will help you to get the total number of div with class name cards. So we have there 8 divs with class name card, so we'll be getting 8 for now. But if you have 9 divs with class name card, then you'll get 9. So with that, total number of cards will multiply by card size. So there are 8 cards, and each card, they are occupying the 25.4%. So if I multiply with that, then you'll be able to get the all the cards percentage space that they are occupying. I want to subtract that total space that they are occupying. So I'm subtracting space occupied by 4 cards. So for that, I'm writing card size asterisk 4. So we are subtracting that because you can see at the beginning you could see the 4 cards, but you are unable to see the other 4 more cards. Okay, so the actual space that the hidden cards they are occupying is this. Okay, so with the help of that total space occupied by that total cards, I mean the 8 cards, if I subtract with the space occupied by that 4 cards, so that you saw in the beginning, so with the help of this code, we'll be able to get the exact space or the area that is occupied by the hidden cards. Okay, now let's copy that variable name right arrow. Let's paste it. So when you click that right arrow, so I'm giving right arrow dot on click is equal to arrow function. So inside the arrow function, I'm writing left is equal to left plus. So for the left, initially we have given there 0, and I'm giving left plus card size. So this code can be written as plus equal to card size. So now let's see it in the console. So I'm writing console.log left. So in the browser, if you press F12 key and if you go to the console tab, so now when you click that right arrow in the console, you can see 25.4. So now you can see whenever I'm clicking the right arrow, the left values is increasing with 25.4. Now whenever you are clicking the right arrow, let's call the move cards function, and also let's pass the argument left with that function. But you can see we haven't created that function yet. So let's create that move cards function. I'm writing function move cards, so it's taking the argument left, so I'm passing that left argument. Okay, now inside that function we'll iterate the all the class card. You can see at the top we have given there document.query selector all, so we are selecting all the cards. I'm using for of loop to iterate the all the cards, so I'm writing for card of cards, and for the card let's give some CSS value. So in order to apply the CSS, I'm writing card.style.left is equal to, so you can see whenever you are clicking that right arrow, we are calling the move cards function, and inside that we are passing the left variable. So now let's give that left variable plus %. So that plus %, this is necessary, otherwise it won't work. But in the browser you can see whenever I'm clicking that right arrow, cards are moving towards the right side, but I want the opposite. Okay, so if I give minus left in the style.css file, you can see initially for the class card we have given the left 0. So we are changing that left value dynamically with the help of JavaScript code. So now in the browser you can see whenever I'm clicking that right arrow, the cards are moving towards the left side. So this is what I want. Okay, but you can see there is some problem. See, whenever I'm clicking the right arrow for the cards, it is adding the 25.4% left value continuously. So now when you reach to the last card, you need to stop that. So in order to do that, let's give some condition. Now whenever you are clicking the right arrow, I'm giving the condition if left variable's value, okay, so that is greater or equal to total card size value, then for the left variable we'll assign total card size value. So now in the browser, whenever I'm clicking that right arrow, you can see cards is moving towards left side, but when you reach to the end of last card, now it stops. So with the help of this code, we can restrict the card from moving towards the left side whenever it is reached to its limit. So now let's select this code and let's duplicate it. Now instead of that right arrow, let's give left arrow. whenever you are clicking the left arrow, now instead of that adding, we'll subtract. Okay, so I'm giving left is equal to left minus card size, so that left minus card size can be written as like this. Okay, for now let's comment that condition, and in the browser if I press the left arrow, you can see card is moving towards the right side. So whenever you are reaching towards the first card, you must stop the cards moving towards the right side. So for that we need to give the condition. So now let's uncomment this code, and instead of that total card size, let's give 0, and also I'm giving left is equal to 0. Now in the browser, whenever I'm clicking the left arrow, okay, now you can see it is still moving towards the right side. Okay, there must be some mistake. Yeah, there's some mistake. In the condition you can see I have given the greater or equal to 0. There should be less than or equal to 0. And once again, if I click the left arrow, now you can see. So whenever you are getting the first card, now you won't be able to move the cards towards the right side. So now if I press the right arrow, okay, card is moving towards the left side, and now whenever you are clicking the left arrow, card is moving towards the right side. So this is exactly what I want. But at the beginning I want to hide the left arrow. So for that, left arrow dot style dot opacity is equal to, I'm giving 0. So in the browser now you can see you won't be able to see that left arrow. And if I click right arrow, once again I want to get that left arrow. So in order to do that, whenever you are clicking the left arrow, I want to call the check arrow visibility function, and also I'm passing that left variable as argument, but we haven't created that check arrow visibility function. Let's copy and let's paste that function name. Let's give function. Now let's take that left variable as pose or the position argument. Okay, so let's give the condition. For the condition I'm giving if position is equal to 0. So we are checking the condition if the left value, so the left value that is equal to 0, then let's duplicate that code. Okay, let's take it to that if condition. So if that left value is equal to 0, then for the left arrow we are giving the opacity of 0, else let's duplicate this code and let's take it to the else part. At the time for the left arrow I'm giving the opacity of 1. So let's save it, and also let's comment out this code. And now if I press left arrow, you can see whenever you are reaching to the first card, that left arrow is hidden, but whenever you are clicking that right arrow, that left arrow should reappear. Okay, so in order to do that, let's duplicate this code and let's take it to the right arrow click function. So whenever you are clicking the right arrow, we are calling the same check arrow visibility function. And also let's uncomment this code. Now if I click the right arrow, it is taking to me at the last card. So when you reach to the last card, at the time I want to hide that right arrow. Okay, so in order to do that, and let's duplicate it, let's change the condition. Okay, instead of that is equal to 0, let's give greater or equal to the total card size. Okay, that variable. So if the left or the position value is greater or equal to the total card size value, then the instead of that left arrow we'll give that right arrow. So that right arrow's opacity will be 0, else that right arrow's opacity will be 1. Now in the browser at the beginning you'll be able to see only the right arrow. So now if I click the right arrow, you'll be able to see that left arrow, and if I reach to the last card, then that right arrow is hidden. Once again, if I press the left arrow, right arrow reappears. We are creating the responsive slider. Okay, so if you adjust the screen, now you can see that slider is not working. So in order to work it, let's give the condition. For the condition I'm giving window.matchMedia. So we are invoking the method called matchMedia, and we are passing the string inside the bracket. Let's give max width is equal to 768 pixel. So dot matches. So with the help of this code, we are checking the viewport's width, whether its maximum width is 768 pixel or not. In the standard CSS file, you can see in the media query, we have already given their max width of 768 pixel, and at the time for the class card we have given their minimum width of 21 rem. So we are checking that viewport's width. Okay, so if the viewport's maximum width is 768 pixel, then we'll change that card size and also the total card size. So now let's duplicate this code and let's take it to that if condition, and let's remove that let Now instead of that 25.4, let's give 52. So I'm giving now 52 because whenever your viewport's maximum width is 768 pixel, you can see there are only 2 cards. So those 2 cards will occupy only the 50%, but the space between the card will give extra value. So for that I'm giving 52, and also instead of that 4 we'll give 2 because there is only the 2 cards. So if there was 3 cards, then I would give card size asterisk 3. So there is only 2 cards, so I'm giving asterisk 2. Now if I save and in the browser, if I press right arrow, yeah, it's working. So you can select this code and duplicate it. So if you want to make it more responsive, like for the mobile view, for the tablet view, for the laptop, for the PC, so there may be the different viewport. Okay, so if you want to make more responsive, and you can change the card size and the total card size value accordingly. Okay, and also with the help of this code, we are creating the dynamic code. Okay, what if I duplicate this 8 cards? Now there will be total 16 div with class name card. So now in the browser, if I press the right arrow, so you can see it is working perfectly. So it doesn't matter what is the number of your cards, or with the increase in the number of cards, it will dynamically adjust its value. So there won't be any problem with like adding and subtracting your card. So you can have any number of cards, it will work. But you can see this is the dark theme. So if I want to change it to light theme, let's comment out this code, and yeah. Let's comment this color, and also let's comment out that color. Okay, and also let's duplicate this code, and instead of that background white, let's give dark gray color, and also for the color, let's give the white color. Let's take it to the full screen by pressing F11 key. So yeah, you can see this is the light theme and everything is working perfectly. Now let's uncomment this code and let's change back it to dark theme. So I love the dark theme, so let me know in the comment box you love the dark theme or the light theme. So everything is working perfectly. So that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you did learn something, smash that like button. If you have any kind of queries, let me know in the comment box. Share this video if you think someone needs it. And also, if you haven't already yet, hit that subscribe button and also the notification bell icon. Remember, there is always more to learn, so keep learning.